Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news video. So yeah, we have another Netflix Avatar clip. They're just ramping up the marketing again. I'm guessing we'll probably get at least another one tomorrow. It'll be 2 weeks to go exactly until release on February 22nd tomorrow. So I'll be surprised if they stopped after doing 2 days in a row with new clips. The one we have this time out is 27 seconds. It is a Zuko focused clip with the longest continuous piece of dialogue that we've had so far. In that the full thing is just a 27-minute kind of clip, one Zuko sentence, and interestingly, there's not a lot of new footage. It's mainly, as you can see here in the kind of thumbnail here, the just Zuko at his desk writing, I guess, in some sort of a journal. And various different versions of this. Otherwise, it is just clips we have seen before, intercut in the middle of it all. It's an interestingly cut together video as well, because it kind of makes me wonder, like, when exactly in the show does this take place? Like, is it just like a promo video and maybe this scene isn't exactly in the show, and it's just meant for kind of information purposes as part of marketing? Or will we actually get this scene at some stage in an episode? Let's go through it here. So I have a few screenshots here. Just in terms of the visuals, it's mainly just, you can see Zuko at his desk, lots of stuff going on here. It's a little bit messy. Closer look in here as we get one of the key lines of the dialogue, which we'll analyze in just a second. Stares into the camera, "It's my destiny." And we do get a look at some stuff behind him, which I'll talk about in just a second. And then we do have, I think this is a new shot. It is just Ozai like slightly moving his face a little bit, but it is, I believe, somewhat new. Not that it's like super interesting. But the dialogue itself is this. "We've been at war for 100 years, a war started by my great-grandfather and continued by my father, Fire Lord Ozai, and it's my duty to ensure that the Fire Nation succeeds. Uncle Iroh says that some believe it's in our nature to expand and consume like fire itself. All I believe is the Fire Nation must emerge victorious, and that is why I have to deliver the Avatar to my father. It's my destiny." So, interesting stuff here. As I said, it's a long line, bit of a history lesson here. So addressing the whole idea of, I suppose, for new people maybe seeing this show for the first time through this marketing, addressing the whole idea of that this is a war that spans 100 years, multi-generational here. Zuko's great-grandfather, grandfather, and father all leading this war and continuing it. And we do get the shot of Sozin, highlighting that we're going to get to see the, of course, initial attack that sort of starts the war, and continued in the present day by his father Ozai, of course. So interesting stuff. And then we get into sort of more of Zuko's, I suppose, more personal thoughts on the war, which is kind of, I think, an interesting thing to talk about here. "It's my duty to ensure the Fire Nation succeeds." That's an interesting one, because obviously they're not really talking about like his banishment here. A lot of people are probably going to bring up his honor doesn't get mentioned here, and that angle on things. This is very much like, I'm out doing a separate mission to help the nation. This is what I have to do. And in a way, without mentioning the whole idea of, I need to restore my honor, and really getting into the whole idea of like why he's out on this mission alone, it kind of almost feels like there is a little bit missing that, like, interesting kind of presentation of this. It's just very early book one Zuko, before he's found the Avatar, before he maybe has the hope of actually getting his honor back. So he's more focused on the bigger picture stuff of just the war and needing to end the war. It's interesting, because I'm not going to judge it just based off this one line and assume that because it doesn't mention his honor that Zuko won't ever talk about his honor, because the Agni Kai is in here. Zuko fighting his father. In this version, it seems like there's going to be some sort of a fight. He might not fight back, but they're making an action scene out of it. But Zuko still gets his scar and is separate than the rest of his family. So that plot point is very much still here. Just this line doesn't necessarily say the whole idea. Now, it is interesting, of course, like Iroh, of course, is with him, says, some believe it's in our nature to expand and consume like fire itself. And I suppose that is the probably the other nation's view on the Fire Nation in this very militaristic era for them since the war started, is that they are taking, the philosophy of fire in the wrong direction, focused on the idea of it consuming everything and just expanding without control, rather than the kind of life aspect that we later learn is the kind of true philosophy of firebending. But then he goes on to say, all I believe is that the Fire Nation must emerge victorious, and that's why I need to deliver the Avatar to my father. It's my destiny. So it's his destiny to deliver the Avatar to Ozai, and this will be a key thing in terms of ending the war. So it says a bit, but it maybe doesn't say the whole story if you know Zuko's character. Still, nice full line of dialogue, full sequence of dialogue here. I think pretty well presented, acted. Given that, yes, it's probably one of the few lines of dialogue we can actually probably get into because it's multiple sentences long. But I don't want to overanalyze it because, of course, we don't know the full context. I'm guessing it's relatively early on. So getting back to the whole idea of sort of when does this actually take place? My assumption is that this is probably what Zuko on his ship. It might even be, just because of how kind of introductory the kind of material is, this might even be maybe our first scene with Zuko after we're clearly going to start off with the kind of Sozin attack on the air nomads, and then maybe do the Aang sequence, and then we cut over to the introduction of Zuko. This might be when we kind of delve into that stuff and address the whole idea of, okay, we are 100 years on from this, sequence that happened, stuff like that. Just because, like I said, it's a weirdly kind of shot scene in that way, where it's the actor, Zuko's actor, saying these lines, but visually he's just writing them on paper, basically. So interesting stuff. And then, the final thing I think to talk about here is just these images in the background. Now, obviously, they're going for this idea that this version of Zuko is a little bit more kind of an investigator, perhaps, that he is finding these scraps, these images of the Avatar. That's why in like a previous teaser image, the teaser trailer, he seems to have an image of Yang Chen, one of the previous Avatars. Clearly here you can see like Kyoshi in the background with the fans and the headdress and stuff like that. Not sure what this is though, who this character is. Is this meant to be a previous Avatar? Is it meant to be like a sage from one of the nations related to kind of that stuff? That's the kind of whole idea here, because just adding together sort of the idea that like he has a journal. He's taking a journal, noting what he's been up to. And then the fact that he kind of has like all of these different kind of almost relics, kind of pieces of information about the Avatar, it suggests a Zuko who's kind of delving into kind of history a little bit more. Just that he knows stuff about the past Avatars to try and investigate what's going on. Versus, of course, Zuko in the original, where he's kind of like, I don't know what the Avatar is going to be like. Like, if it's the same Avatar, it's going to be someone incredibly old, but like he just doesn't know what to make of it. Whereas I'm guessing they're maybe just playing up the idea that this is a Zuko who's done his research and kind of knows a lot about previous Avatars. Make of that what you will, obviously, but it's just an interesting one overall. Fascinated to see if anyone has anything to say about this particular character here, because you would maybe think like, oh, is this meant to be some sort of depiction of Avatar Karuk? But it really, I don't think obviously quite looks like him, maybe. Maybe it's meant to be some depiction of him just because they're maybe emphasizing the 4 avatars before Aang a little bit, but still interesting. So yeah, they're my thoughts on this little kind of clip here. Maybe went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but just because we had like a full-on dialogue sequence almost, I felt it was worth diving into a little bit more. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this one. Do you think we're going to get another clip tomorrow? And just thoughts on everything here. The dialogue, the background, like details. But yes, that has been the video. Thanks for watching and bye.